Welcome back. 33-year-old Colton Aubry, a disgraced youth pastor, has been sentenced to 3 years in prison for indecently assaulting 3 underage girls ages 11, 15, and 17, all in 2017. On Wednesday, Aubry received the sentence as part of a plea deal after pleading guilty before Senior Magistrate Cara Turnquest DeVoe. The sentences will run concurrently with the 8-year prison sentence previously ordered by Senior Justice Bernard Turner, which Aubry is currently serving for inappropriately touching a 13-year-old girl. In July of 2022, a Supreme Court jury convicted Aubry of 2 counts of indecent assault and 2 counts of unlawful sexual intercourse. Aubry, an orphan, met his victim's family through a church outreach program. He moved in with the family at the age of 16 and lived with them for 18 months. However, he betrayed their trust. He betrayed the trust of the family by inappropriately touching the young girl, who viewed him as a brother, in 2016 and 17 when she was just 13 years old. Aubry was represented by attorney Miranda Adderley. Minister of Economic Affairs Senator Michael Halkitis will lead a delegation of legal unit officials from the Ministry of Finance to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD's Forum on Harmful Tax Practice next week in Paris, France. This comes following the government's disappointment that the Bahamas continues to be listed on the European Union's, the EU's, blacklist of non-cooperative countries for tax purposes. On Tuesday, a statement from the Ministry of Finance maintained that the EU's listing was generated before many recent government reforms were implemented. Senator Halkitis says he does not agree with the decision of the EU because the Bahamas has indeed taken steps to get off that list. It was just a matter of scheduling.
They assessed the Bahamas as non-compliant on certain issues, particularly related to substance. There was a number of things that we had to do, inclusive of making some amendments to our Substance Reporting Act and putting in a new reporting portal, migrating information over from the former portal into this new portal. What the schedule goes something like this. That Forum on Harmful Tax Practices has a meeting next week, which we will be attending, myself along with a team from the legal unit of the Ministry of Finance. And at that point, we will be able to give a report to that forum on the things that we have done. And we are cautiously optimistic that the steps will then be taken for them to deem us compliant. And following that, when the EU has their next meeting, we are looking forward to be able to have a favorable outcome from them.
Senator Halkitis goes on to say that he does not think that the OECD or the EU should even be in charge of compliance, as the government believes the United Nations would be more independent as an arbitrator.
My point is, we have not been standing still. We have taken into account the issues that they raised, even though we do not think that they should have arisen to the point of being non-compliant, but that's their process. We've made the changes that they recommended in terms of amendments to the CESRA legislation, which is substance reporting legislation, migrating information to a new portal, etc. The wider point I want to just flag, and we'll be discussing this as time goes on, is our view that we should move this whole issue of who is compliant from who is not compliant out of the hands of the OECD and the European Union to the United Nations, who we think would be a more independent arbiter of this whole issue. We do not think that jurisdictions who are in competition with us and other jurisdictions in terms of financial services should be the judge and the jury of who's being compliant in terms of their tax standards. As a matter of fact, there's an initiative, there should have been a meeting on this coming Monday in Barbados to discuss that very issue. Unfortunately, that meeting has been postponed, but there is momentum building in the region, in what we call the Global South, in certain places in Africa, and the East, that we need to change this calculation, who determines who is compliant from non-compliant. That's gaining momentum. We want to see it go to the UN, who has no interest in competing for financial services.
He explained that the government does not agree with the process, but they are hopeful that following the meeting, the Bahamas will be listed as compliant in February of 2024. Hundreds of Grand Bahamians showed up to a Carnival business meeting at the Grand Lucayan Resort on Thursday, with Minister for Grand Bahama Jcn News stating that with over 2 million passengers to potentially traverse the shores of Grand Bahama annually and 13,000 visitors daily, the opportunity the new cruise port will bring for Grand Bahamians is enormous and can be considered a game changer. The high interest by Grand Bahamians for the possibility for employment, vendor opportunities, and partnerships between Carnival and local contractors for the building of the port was evident by the number of people who showed up at the business meeting. Grand Bahamians also had a chance to meet with Carnival representatives responsible for various aspects of the new cruise port and to ask questions concerning their area of interest and expertise, whether it be becoming a vendor to sell food and beverages, souvenirs, tour operators, or full-time employment with Carnival Cruise Lines. When the $500 million project is completed, Celebration Key will have the capacity to accommodate up to 2 of Carnival's XL cruise liners at the same time, and Grand Bahama will become the home of a flagship destination for Carnival. Minister Moxie encouraged Grand Bahamians to take advantage of the opportunities the new cruise port in East Grand Bahama will bring for the island. In celebration of National Youth Month, the Climate Change Advisory Unit has partnered with Deep Science Ventures on the launch of their fully funded doctorate program available to young Bahamians to advance global energy, food security, and climate resilience. Dean of the Venture Science Program, Dr. Thane Campbell, says those interested do not have to possess a bachelor's or master's degree to apply.
I had to leave home to pursue my PhD in medical imaging and the immune system. And that doesn't have to be the case anymore for Bahamians who want to pursue science innovation. You can take this Venture Science doctorate here, online in year 1, wherever you are in the diaspora around the world and here in our islands. This is an opportunity to work with the world's most entrepreneurial labs, but it's also an opportunity to work very closely with Deep Science Ventures. And so I want to tell you just a little bit about this game-changing company and what we're doing today. We have built 39 companies in clean energy, food security, agriculture, pharmaceuticals, and also computation sectors. And the portfolio of companies that we've built is valued at $1/3 billion.
The aim of the program is to expand Bahamian education, explore solutions to fundamental problems like the climate crisis, network with other innovators and researchers, and expand job opportunities. Dr. Dean says regardless of an individual's career background, the program is looking for innovators.
Because really what we need are those innovators who are driven, who have determination, who have a magnetic personality, who have expertise in terms of their logical and critical thinking. And so we want to hear from you regardless of what your background might be, and we want to open the stage for you to invent with us and to really build up the Bahamian economy, our blue and green economy. The rest of the world is waiting for these solutions. They want to hear from us, they want to hear from people of color, from people from the Caribbean, where we are really experiencing these climate change issues in a different way from the rest of the world. And there's a huge global movement to diversify and be more inclusive in our science and innovation training. And so I encourage you and I implore you to take the opportunity to work with us.
He says by 2033, they hope to be training 1,000 venture scientists per year. Those who want to apply can do so by signing up at www.deepscienceventures.com or by clicking the link on the Office of the Prime Minister's website. And finally, U.S. White House Acting National Cyber Director Kemba Innes Walden, who led an Organization of American States and Bahamas 2-day cybersecurity symposium at Bahama earlier this week, paid a courtesy call on Acting Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism, Investment and Aviation, Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper. That was on Wednesday at the Office of the Prime Minister. The symposium sought to provide training, exchange of information, as well as raising awareness about cybersecurity in the region. Also in attendance at the courtesy call were Senator Michael Halkitis, the Minister of Economic Affairs, Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, John Pinder, and Senator Randy Roll, Global Relations Consultant. That'll do it for your JCN Evening News. Once again, I'm Jarino Saunders. Thank you so much for joining us.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.